North Carolina is absolutely furious at Donald Trump and his despicable regime. What you saw right there were high school students at Asheville High School in North Carolina peacefully protesting and conducting a walkout in solidarity with the people of Minneapolis after Donald Trump's ICE and Border Patrol Gestapo murdered Renee Nicole Good and most recently Alex Pretty. That protest was at the end of last week at Asheville High School. And we're seeing protests throughout North Carolina, specifically Mecklenburg County and the surrounding areas were targeted by Donald Trump's ICE and Border Patrol Gestapo for the state-sponsored terrorism. People were rounded up there as well with scenes like we saw in Minneapolis. I'll just remind you of what some of the other protests look like in North Carolina. Here was a big one that took place recently with people chanting, "F Donald Trump, F Donald Trump." Here, play this clip. Now, Donald Trump's approval in North Carolina is absolutely abysmal. You take a look right here. Right now in North Carolina, it is negative 13.6%. This was a state that Donald Trump won in 2024. The latest Economist poll and other similar polling has him at negative 13.6% in North Carolina. Now, Democrats are poised to win big in the midterms in North Carolina if they can keep up the momentum there. And a recent state regime media, which calls itself Fox poll, showed that Democrats have about a +6 or so advantage in general in the midterm generics, which is the biggest spread that Fox ever had on their generic polling for either party. But like you zoom in on some of these congressional districts, like North Carolina's 11th congressional district, which is represented by MAGA Republican Congress member Chuck Edwards. The 11th is Western North Carolina. People absolutely hate this guy right here, Chuck Edwards. Just a reminder, Chuck Edwards was booed at his last town hall that he did. He's since run away and he's not doing any more town halls. Here is Chuck Edwards a few months back. This is actually last March. And he's run away since then. But watch as people were asking him about Greenland and Canada. Here, play this clip.
Do you support the annexation of Canada and/or Greenland? And this is a yes or no question. I don't want you to wander off into the woods. I don't want to hear about your latest week in your office. Okay, so I'm trying to get your opinion on this as a yes or no. Do you support Trump on annexing Canada or Greenland? And do you like the way he treats the premier or the president of Canada, calling him governor? Is that the way you do as a diplomat? Is that the way the United States should act to our closest neighbors? You know, is this, and I've still got a little more time. Do you enjoy the way he's tried to extort minerals from the Ukraine? Do you like bullying people that need your help? Do you go for kicking the guy when he's down? Do you support Trump in these things? And this is a yes or no.
And Republican from North Carolina, Chuck Edwards, was booed after saying that Trump supports Ukraine, and people know he's lying. Play this clip.
Our next question is from Kathleen, zip code 28804. Why do you support a president that cares nothing about NATO, Ukraine, and democracy, but cares about Putin and other dictators?
Actually, I believe that the president is very supportive of Ukraine. I believe the president recognizes that Putin is a murderous dictator.
And here was an incredible scene where a veteran said, "You don't give an F about me. You don't give an F about this state. Get the hell out of here." Here, play this clip.
You're lying. I'm a veteran. You don't give a fuck about me. Shut the fuck up. You don't get the fucking do this to us. You don't get to take away our rights. You don't get to take our rights. Get off of me. You don't get to do this to us. Fuck you. Fuck you. He's on the right to speak! He's on the right to speak! You need to stand up for your fucking job! You don't need to do
So to be clear, I deeply value the contributions that
just to be clear,
make
bullshit, and you're not telling the
every
truth.
day.
You're not listening.
Let him speak. Let him speak.
Services. For example, folks at the National Weather Service
Are fired!
And so now MAGA Republican Chuck Edwards is running away from the people. He hasn't really done any other town halls. He does these like events where he phones it in basically at this point. Now, folks, the people of North Carolina see that Donald Trump's ripped away their health care. He's terrorizing the state. Another big issue is Hurricane Helene relief. Hurricane was back in September of 2024. I think it's September 26th, 27th, 2024. Real horrors were unleashed on the state by the natural disaster. Donald Trump's been withholding money from North Carolina. He denied disaster relief. Now he's withholding money. The same way he's withholding, tens of billions of dollars from Los Angeles. I mean, Donald Trump is very antagonistic to North Carolina. Chuck Edwards, very antagonistic towards the state. So I want to bring in the Democratic candidate, Jaime Ager. Jaime, it's great to see you here. Fourth generation farmer with family in politics. You run the Hickory Nut Gap, but you're not even though you had some family going back to your grandpa who was in the House of Representatives, you've never really been in politics before, but you've decided right now, given all these things that Trump and these MAGAs are doing in your state, and particularly in your district, in Western North Carolina, people are pissed and you're pissed, whether it's their horrific handling of disaster relief from Hurricane Helene and the lies they keep spewing that, oh, we're helping out, we're doing a great job, when they haven't done really anything that they promised to do, whether it's the Trump regime's attack on farmers. And by the way, Edwards' attack on farmers, taking away people's health care, shutting down rural hospitals. I mean, it just seems that you have an openly hostile government and representative, which I call a regime, to the Congressional District, North Carolina's 11th that you're running. And one more thing I'll point out, the latest polling has you slightly ahead of this MAGA Republican candidate, and that is a big deal heading into these midterms. So talk to us about why you want to run, but why you're running, but it seems I gave all the reasons. They're attacking you. Your district's under attack.
Yeah. I'm a fourth generation here in Western North Carolina. My family's been in Western North Carolina for over 100 years. And, Western North Carolina is a region where people admire folks with deep roots. There's a lot of heritage here and a lot of tradition. And, as someone who's from this area, I've spent my whole life here. And for the past 25 years, my wife and I built a little meat company and at our farming operation here. We raise grass-fed beef and pasture-raised livestock production, and really spent the past 25 years building a company with deep values around farming that's good for the land, that's good for animals, and good for people. The farmers we work with, the employees of the business, and most importantly, our customers. And so, as somebody who understands business, I've been on the entrepreneurial journey, who comes from a background of agriculture and knows a lot of farmers in the region. I feel like one of the reasons I decided to run is that I can go beat Chuck Edwards and really run a campaign that's not so based on sort of national politics, but on some of the challenges we're having right here in our communities around recovering from Hurricane Helene and getting ourselves back on our feet in so many other ways, from the high cost of living that people are experiencing, and just try to be helpful for our communities. I've never really seen myself as a hyper partisan person. I'm mostly just a dad and a basketball coach and a business owner in our community. And I'm pretty sure I can talk to a lot of folks all over Western North Carolina that see me in that context.
I think about the 2024 election, Trump's trips out to Asheville and other places, and the speeches he gave then. Then I think to the speeches he's been giving, these weird rallies he's been holding over the past, few months. The most recent one he did was in Iowa. Before that, he was in North Carolina, and before that, he was in Pennsylvania. And in all of them right now, he's spiking the football, to give you the sports reference right there as the coach. And he's saying, I did what I promised, that everything is better now. I don't even use the word affordability. He says, because it's old fashioned. It's been solved and everyone's doing great. Then he says, the farmers love me. He said, the tariffs have made us richer than ever. What do you say to that? And what do the people that you speak to in North Carolina's 11 say to that?
I mean, here in Western North Carolina, we dealt on September 27th, 2024. We were really punched in the face when Hurricane Helene came through and ripped through so many communities all over Western North Carolina. And the flooding was so severe. We lost so many roads and bridges and culverts and fence lines here at the farm. And at the end of the day, we lost a lot of friends and neighbors, and that was devastating. And the cost of that storm was close to about $60 billion. And we've received, we had politicians come into Swannanoa. I think it's one of the only times Chuck Edwards has really shown up in public in Swannanoa, telling us they're going to make this thing right. We're going to get us back on our feet. And here we are a year and a half later, and we're still struggling to get back on our feet. I've been traveling through Swannanoa quite a bit, met with some nonprofits there last week, Swannanoa communities coming together. And there's full of examples of funding needed to get our feet back under us, and we just can't. And as I travel around the district, the people are really struggling with the latest subsidies that went away for the healthcare, and people's premiums going up 300%. To feel like you're working 40 hours a week and you're not getting ahead at all, and you actually can't get ahead, is pretty discouraging for a lot of people. And it really causes folks to not believe that the government can actually solve hard problems. And to me, that's frustrating and unacceptable. And so I really just decided to run because I see myself as somebody that can be helpful, not so much locked into sort of these national political conversations, but much more around, like, as an entrepreneur, I know what it's like to do hard things, to have hard conversations, to be creative and solve hard problems. And I just really think I can help this region recover from Helene, get people feeling like the economics of this country can work for them every day. And I'm idealistic. I think we can have a better country than we have right now. And right now we need leadership that brings people together and doesn't tear us all apart. And that's pretty much all we're seeing.
Yeah. I mean, it seems at every level, people are getting crushed, whether it's things being less affordable. I mean, on Friday, the core inflation numbers came out, and it's rising to 3.3%, which is far more than people expected. Yeah, which is more consistent, by the way, with, I think, the lived experience. To me, it feels higher than that, because when I go to the grocery store and I put my thing, I go, that's more than 3% year over year. But, it compounds. But the fact that it's at least in this range at least feels like, okay, I'm not delusional. Things are way more expensive right now when I'm out there. But then it's ripping away the healthcare costs. And you can go to different sectors. I mean, you're a fourth generation farmer, but I could be speaking to a second generation or third generation construction worker. The input costs are higher. They can't afford, they're struggling. First time homeowners can't afford homes, and farmers, your input costs are significantly higher because the tariffs are being passed through to you, the business owners, and not to the foreign countries. And so everyone's getting hit with everything.
Yeah. It's funny to me. I mean, farmers, generally speaking, are the ones who have to pay retail and they sell wholesale, which is never a good idea. And they pay trucking both ways, right? That's always discouraging. And it's interesting to me to listen to folks talk about tariffs as like, they're not going to cause price increases. Well, I've been in business long enough to know when we get cost increases, you kind of have to pass those along to your customers, or you got to absorb them. And both are hard to do, right? And so to me, the idea that we can have these sort of eat your lunch and do all the things you want to do and just celebrate everything as wins, and then not be able to actually affect people's, the pricing, all those things is naive and pretty frustrating, and bad leadership, right? I think that's, when I look at these, the ability for us to provide healthcare for folks in our communities, and farmers are small business owners. And I feel like some of these subsidies, when they get expired, they can't even, the ability for those subsidies is hitting so many small businesses in such terrific ways. And that's on top of a healthcare system that's already completely dismantled and destroyed. I mean, I got a neighbor over here who recently passed away and didn't go to the doctor because he had a stomach ache and, thought he'd be all right. And then, and ended up not going. And then 4 months later, he gets sick and dies because we're too scared to go to the doctor, because you can't imagine how much it's going to cost. And you're so scared of the fees. And to be more scared of how much your healthcare is going to cost than actually trying to get the care you need is happening all the time across this country. And to me, we can do way better than that as a country. And it's pretty frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, look, the story of your neighbor is a story that often doesn't get told, which needs to be told, because this is why I do what I do now, is because I'm with you. Like, I didn't really get into this because I liked politics. In fact, I didn't like politics. And I tell my wife, I really don't like politics. She's like, but you run a political media company. It's because I don't like it. I want to stop the BS, because like what you just described is your neighbor was sick in America, which is supposed to be the wealthiest nation in the world, knew he should have gone to the doctor. In any other situation, this was any other country that actually had some sort of universal healthcare ability or affordable healthcare, they'd go to the doctor, because you know what? It's too expensive for me. So now a stomach ache that could have been resolved just became a death sentence, and someone is dead. Their life is over. Their family doesn't see this person, and their life could have been. How old was this person? How old was the person? Do they have?
Oh, I can't remember. He was not too different than me, but it's so just hard.
How old are you?
I'm 48 years old.
We'll say he was 55 for the sake. This this person had 30 plus years and maybe more of life ahead of him, and is dead. And and you and I and others, like. We should, exactly what you said, like that's what we should be fighting. Why is this person dead? And what was the person's name? Oh, you don't have to say his name, but how many other people like that are out there? It's probably hundreds of thousands, millions of people in this country who are just dying. It's crazy.
Right. Well, and to me, like what's frustrating is that whenever folks come into the community after something like Hurricane Helene, and they make a bunch of promises and get a bunch of PR and everything else, and then here we are a year and a half later, and folks are still living in campers in Swannanoa and living in their neighbors' homes, and there's all these homes that got literally washed away, and with big promises to get all this stuff right and fixed. It makes your blood boil to think that if there is a job for somebody in the United States House of Representatives, that word representative means a lot to me, because, the role of the United States House of Representatives is to represent the region that you're from, regardless of your political party. And to me, that's been a huge failure of Chuck Edwards right here in Western North Carolina, because he didn't show up for the people. He didn't show up. He's not fighting for the money. And to me, that's the job. You got to go fight for it. And that's really, really frustrating. And another thing he didn't do is he never really showed up in our communities. When people go through a natural disaster like Hurricane Helene, it's devastating for so many people. People lose their homes. Right after it happened for us right here on our farm, I had a cousin of mine that lives on the other side of the state, and they said, "We're coming with supplies. Do y'all need anything?" And of course, we didn't have any loss of life on this farm, thankfully, but we did have a lot of work to be done all over the place, and we spent basically a whole month doing this. And I didn't realize what we needed. She was like, "Can we bring you some fuel? Can we bring you some food?" I was like, "I think we're good." And then they showed up, and we used every bit of it right away. And so, and part of what good leadership is showing up in communities and being available for people and showing empathy for the challenge that we've got in front of us. And all Chuck Edwards has done is just sit back behind like teletown halls and not going out into communities. And really, part of what leadership is having courage to go out and talk to people and listen to people and be available for everybody in the community. And it just makes me really frustrated that we didn't get that. And I think that ultimately we can do better.
Right. The money and resources were spent in North Carolina by this Trump regime and people like Edwards, sending masked agents from ICE and Border Patrol in Operation Charlotte's Web to harass people in Mecklenburg County, when that money could have been spent to help people get housing in Western North Carolina.
Yeah,
and help
we spent $40 billion on Argentina. We don't have any money right here in Western North Carolina.
People in North Carolina. Where could people?
And now we're talking about buying Greenland.
Buying Greenland, invading Iran, every arresting Don Lemon. Can we just focus on helping the American people? And we pull back and just say, what's the point of all of it? What's the point of government? What are you doing? Like, that's my line. My line used to be play the clip, and now I increasingly say, what are you doing? What is this? I don't even know what the hell this is. Jamie, where can people find out more about the campaign?
Thank you for asking. It's agerforcongress.com. If you just type, Google Jaime Ager for Congress, it'll show up, and we're on all the social media stuff and all that stuff. We'd love support. We're building a great team here. We're building a great campaign, and we feel super excited about that poll that came out that shows us beating Chuck Edwards. And we think we've got the ability to go win this thing.
Jaime Ager, fourth generation farmer, running for North Carolina's 11th Congressional District against that MAGA candidate, Chuck Edwards. Beat him. Do your best.
Thank y'all. Really appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Everybody hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.